Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy Podcast for July 5th, 2024, episode 219. Stand-up comedian, actor, and improviser Paul Green documenting my journey as I pursue my dreams and passions, despite all evidence to the contrary. So, let's see, a couple things to talk about. I have been I have been listening to the audiobook of The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And I will be commenting on my thoughts on that book as I read it or listen to it. But before I get to that, let's do a quick catch-up on yesterday. So I had an opportunity to go to lunch with my new comedy partner, the one and only Josh Novi. And it's just been a really great experience being able to collaborate with him. And I'm going to be a little vulnerable right now. So last night or the night before, 4th of July night, kind of late, Josh texts me and says, "Hey, let's do lunch tomorrow." And it was funny because for some reason in my mind, I had this thought of, oh no, is he breaking up with me? Human beings, I'll tell you what, aren't we a funny lot? So anyways, so we go to lunch and he just wanted to talk business and he has all these great ideas and these great opportunities and he's been talking to some possible connections for us to move our brand forward. And I told him in that conversation that, you know, Josh, I'm actually really excited about what we're doing and what's happening. And it's interesting to me because I'm putting this governor on my excitement. Just in case something goes wrong. And I just thought, man, it is so fascinating how resistant I am, and I think human beings in general are, to things going well. It's almost like we can't handle it. It's just a fascinating phenomenon. I just look back on my life of every time something potentially good is happening or something is starting to trend in the right direction, there seems to be this immediate counterweight of negative, fear-based, oh no, how can this go wrong? Don't want to get your hopes up too high because that's only going to make, when reality hits and everything falls apart, all the more devastating. Why? Why is that the thought? And I even told them that, Josh and I started joking about that, just how, yeah, I'm going, just like, when you're in a new relationship or when I'm in a new relationship and it's like, oh my gosh, this could be a good thing. What's going to happen to make it all crash and burn? And how's it going to go wrong? And I even said as a joke to Josh, I just said, yeah, so just, because this is going so well, I'm probably going to start sabotaging it. Yeah. And then we just started joking around about doing all of the tropes of couples who are not trusting each other. I was like, who are you texting, Josh? Are you texting another comedian right now? Let me see your phone. Let me see your phone, Josh. We started doing that whole thing. And we had a good little laugh. But isn't that kind of sad? Isn't not sad like, well, maybe sad. It's just it was just an interesting realization of my psyche, and I'm sure that it's probably somewhat more pervasive than maybe I want to admit to myself. This idea that every day of life is just preparing for bad news. What a bad way to live. And the funny thing is, I consider myself a fairly optimistic person. But now I'm going like, well, am I just kidding myself? Do I just say I'm an optimistic person? Because that is how I cope with disappointment? Is that me inoculating myself to disappointment by overcompensating with enthusiasm and talking about dreams and doing a daily podcast about how amazing going for your dreams are? Is that really actually all me just setting up as much vaccinations against crash and burns and disappointments and things not working out? Yeah, it was. Getting deep here into the Paul Green psychology. Everybody, forgive me for doing my therapy session publicly, but I had that thought when just my buddy who we've been building this brand together, and everything has been going so well, and we're having so much fun, and it's just so clearly an incredible fit. We just love doing comedy together. We love collaborating. We love talking business. We love hanging out. We riff with each other. We have a great time. And we're also very much aware that the brand that we're building could be a very viable source of income. Like this potentially could be my career and his career combined for the next 15 or 20 years until, we get so old that it's no longer the midlife crisis comedy show. It's the golden parachute comedy show. So I don't know what to make of all that. I don't know what to make of the fact that he says, hey, let's have lunch. And for some reason, I think it's a breakup lunch. Hey, Paul, it's been fun doing this show, but I just don't think it's a good fit. And, I need to focus on other opportunities. And it's like I was already sort of preparing myself for just being cool with that. Just going, oh, okay. Yeah, I totally get it. Like I have a very, or I try to be just completely understanding of people or of things not working out, or like me not being the right fit for people. And it's not, and that's not coming from a place of nobody likes me. It's like, no, it's that the reality that not everybody is going to like me. And not every business arrangement or partnership is viable long-term. And not every romantic relationship is going to end up being a, 50-year romantic partnership. Not every date is going to lead to a second date. Not every club is going to respond. Not every comedy festival is going to book me, right? And what I have tried to develop is the character strength and the personality to just not ever take that personally. Because it never is. It's never personal. It's just I'm not the best fit for whatever. And even this year alone, I've had several of those. I started dating a woman back like late December. We dated for about a month. And then she texted me and just said, hey, I don't think this is the right fit for me. And the reality is, I knew I wasn't the right fit for her. And she messaged me with kid gloves, which I definitely appreciated. But it was clear to me that she was sending that message with a hint of fear that I might be upset, or I might be hurt, or it might lead to a tough conversation. And to be quite frank, there were times in my past when that was absolutely the case. When, a woman breaking it off with me or saying she's not interested was something that my ego couldn't handle. And so, yeah, it was, I didn't take it well. I didn't have the maturity just to be like, okay. It had to be this whole other thing, and it had to be, woe is to me, and I don't deserve love, and all that stuff. I remember when I got laid off from a company that I worked at for about 4 or 5 years, which was an extremely beneficial experience for me. And one of the biggest, most positive impacts of my life was working for that company. And then it got to a point to where, they couldn't afford me anymore. And they laid me off. And I remember I was depressed for like 2 weeks because of that. Oh, woe is me. That was 5 years ago that I was still so emotionally reactive. That's probably a better way to say that. Or I was so emotionally reactive to rejection and took it personally, and it meant something. And this means that I need to be depressed, and I need to be discouraged, and I need to process this through that lens. And I've done a lot of inner work on myself to just realize, hey, it's not personal. She doesn't want to date you. She doesn't want to date you. It's no big deal. If they don't want to work with you anymore, it's no big deal. It's not personal. And I kid you not, 3-4 days ago, a client of mine that I do some freelance work for, and I've been helping him out for a couple of months, doing a ton of work for him. None of it was going well. And he just messaged me and just said, hey, I can't afford to pay you anymore. And I totally got it. And I wasn't mad. I wasn't upset. I wasn't resentful. I was actually the opposite. I'm incredibly grateful that he kept giving me work. And same with that woman who dumped me earlier this year, or just said, hey, this isn't a good fit. I just said, hey, I totally get it. And then she and I were friends, and we're still friends. We're not hanging out. Last I heard, she has a boyfriend, but there's zero animosity. There's zero resentment. There's just, oh, okay. So the funny thing is that now it's almost like I have become so zen, so nirvana, that I'm almost, it's like I'm almost preparing to receive the bad news so that I can be zen about it. And all of that thought process happened just because my comedy partner said, hey, let's go to lunch tomorrow. And there was a part of me that went, oh no, am I going to have to be zen tomorrow? And my mind just started to process of just being okay, this isn't going to be a good fit for him anymore. And that's a bummer. I'm very disappointed. I was very much looking forward to it. But that I would also just know that I'll be okay and go like, oh, okay. It's a bummer, man. But I guess I'll turn all that focus to something else, And all he wanted to do was have lunch and talk about the show. Paul. So, I had a great lunch with my buddy Josh, and we're talking about great things. And then I feel like there's a space where I'm missing something else that happened. Other than that, we have just been promoting hard our upcoming shows. We have not been selling tickets to our upcoming shows. We are racking our brains trying to figure out how and why, how to sell tickets and why we're not. And we don't really know, but we're just continuing to try to brainstorm and create ads and just keep finding different creative ways to promote the show and talk about the shows. And that's been really fun and really great, and I'm very grateful. And then tonight, I got an email from a friend of mine who books shows out in Temecula, and I booked a comedy show at the end of the month. So I am very excited to be doing that show. So everybody, things are going well in Dreamland for yours truly, and I'm very excited. So now, I waxed a little philosophical already, but let's do it even more. So, I have been reading the 48 Laws of Power, and I don't like this book at all. And it's really interesting because I'm still listening to it because I'm committed to listening to it for some reason. And I just have a hard time understanding why this book is not resonating with me, because it's deeply cynical. It is deeply cynical. And each of these laws of power is really it's really like a how-to guide on how to manipulate people and how to screw people over and how to not get screwed in return. I mean, it really paints the world in just a very cynical, conniving. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little too naive. That's what it does. It just makes me feel naive. And I don't really consider myself too altruistic. I am fully aware that human beings are very much capable of deceit, and they're capable of violence, and they're capable of theft and harming each other and harming others and harming themselves and being greedy and jealous and self-serving and all of that. You know, I'm not naive that is definitely a significant component of the human condition. And maybe I've just lived too much of a sheltered life, but I've also experienced some of the most remarkable human beings who are incredibly compassionate, loving, and giving, and altruistic and compassionate. So I don't know. This book just really paints a very bleak picture, and I'm kind of getting an idea of the format of the book. So each chapter is one of these laws of power, and then the author will usually tell like 2 or 3 horrific stories from history. And what's really interesting is it seems the majority of his stories are dealing predominantly with like kings and royalty and princes and courtesans and high society and the super wealthy and the super powerful. And this king had this, member of his court, and the member of the court was really trying to overthrow the king. And so they overthrew the king by utilizing this one of these 48, whatever the law is that he's discussing. And then this is how that king ended up with his head on a pike, and how his perceived best friend then overthrew him and took over the kingdom. And I'm just going, okay, that's not really what I'm trying to do here. I'm not looking to become a king assassin. That's not really my mission in life. But then, of course, what the book is also saying is it's a lot of cautionary tale as well. And it's going, just as much of this is a law of power to gain power and influence over others and to increase your status, be aware that there are people with less pure motives than you who may be employing those very strategies to, while they are planning your own demise so that they can take from you what they want. I'm just going, my gosh, this book is, somebody needs to give this dude a hug. This Robert Greene fella seems to really sort of a pretty bleak, cynical viewpoint of the world. Chapter 2, interestingly enough, is never put too much trust into friends. Learn how to use enemies. Yeah, that's the second chapter. And it's like, here I am, like, doing business with friends who I love. It's like I'm booking shows at my friend's comedy club and producing shows that he is in essence co-producing, or providing the resources for these shows to even happen. And then we hop in a car and go to Hollywood. Like, that's my friend, and my buddy Josh is my friend, and we're doing a show together. And my marketing manager, I consider her a friend. And and then this book is going, well, watch out, because it's all of those friends that you trust are ultimately the ones who may be planning your demise. And then the moment that you X, Y, and Z happens, that's when they're going to rush in and take you down, which, by the way, I have had people who claim to be my friends betray me. So I am not unaware that there is such a thing as fair weather friends. But my gosh, this book is insinuating that potentially could be every friendship. And then it goes, learn to use enemies. And then it's this whole idea of, once you've made an enemy of somebody, or when somebody's made an enemy of you, and then you have then won the war, or you've won the battle, you should then hire your enemies. Again, a lot of the examples are like kings and wars and armies and generals and stuff. And so the story will be something like, this king went in and, conquered this village or conquered this town and then took it over. But instead of beheading all of the generals of the competing army, he hired them all. And because they were so grateful for their lives, then these enemies became very loyal servants, to whereas all of the king's friends, got lazy and were, just kind of biding their time to use their friendship. It's just, I'm just going, what the hell is this? So I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about every chapter, and I'm just going to try to see if there's any principle out of these 48 to where I go like, now that is a principle of power that I can get behind. And it's just really fascinating that I've happened upon this book again because the author just kept popping up on my TikTok. So social media somehow thought that I would engage with this book, and ironically enough, I am, for the opposite reason. But there is no bad publicity, which, by the way, I think is one of the laws of power. I don't remember. I've just been listening to the audiobook while I've been doing other things. So, I've only like half been listening. It's like, while I'm driving on my car, I'll pop it on. And so I'm just kind of half paying attention to these stories. And most of the time I'm just listening to, and I'm just going, wait, what the heck is this story? This story is atrocious. I'm going, yeah, maybe these laws only apply to like kings and politicians and the mega powerful, titans of industry who are that conniving and that evil that, yes, in their world, which only responds to the most brutal of the most brutal displays of power, maybe that's how to be successful in that world. But my God, I really hope this book is not accurate in terms of what I need to do to be successful in my endeavors. Matter of fact, I'm to some degree wanting to almost prove the antithesis of it all and going, yeah, actually, I think you can trust your friends. And maybe it's not a good idea to use anybody, even if they are your enemies. Going like, yeah, even if they're my perceived enemies, I'm not going to use that animosity as some sort of ploy to get their loyalty. It's just interesting. It's just a very primal. Just a very primal book. And I don't know. I'm not going to pretend that I don't have primal instincts, but I've spent the better part of my life trying to adapt what I would like to consider higher principles of and higher means of behaving and interacting and accomplishing goals, other than trying to treat every person as some sort of pawn to be manipulated and for me to gain power over. But yeah, I don't know. But maybe that in and of itself actually is a power play. Oh, that just got deep, everybody. Maybe I am still just exercising a law of power. I'm just calling it a higher law, but maybe I'm only doing that because that will give me more power. All right, everybody. I don't even know where the heck I'm going with any of this anymore. So that is the update for July 5th. I am super, super excited tonight. I will be performing for the Clean Comedy USA comedy show in Chandler. And so very much looking forward to that show. And I will let you all know how it goes tomorrow. For now, keep pursuing those dreams, everybody. And I love you all so much. This has been the Paul Green Comedy Podcast for June 5th, 2024, episode 219. I will talk to you all tomorrow.